Hello and welcome to AI and Networking in 2026, Key Trends, Requirements, and Enterprise Implications. I'm Selena Mosley. Thank you for joining us today as we explore how artificial intelligence is reshaping the network landscape. Today we're joined by IDC Senior Analyst Brendan Butler, who will share new research on where AI and networking are headed. After Brandon's briefing, we'll continue the conversation with a panel discussion on what these shifts mean for enterprise IT and networking teams. We're watching AI transform both how networks are operated and what they need to support, from more autonomous, intelligent operations to our high-performance fabrics for your AI workloads. Thank you again for being here. Let's get started.
Thanks, Selena. Hi, everyone. My name is Brandon Butler. I'm a senior research manager at IDC, where I cover enterprise networks. And I want to start with what I find is a surprising statistic from a recent survey that we did of more than 500 global respondents. And it found that more than half of the network management tasks within campus and branch networks are going to be augmented or enhanced by AI within the next 2 years. And I think this survey data point speaks to the growing trend that we see around AI and networking. And so for the past 2 years, IDC has done this global survey looking at the intersection of AI and networking. And today I'm going to walk through some of the statistics and the key findings that we've from that survey. And I'm going to break it down into 4 different sort of themes that we saw resonated throughout this survey of enterprise end users. So the first is the critical role of connectivity as AI and networking come together. And we're seeing this huge increase in bandwidth just exploding across campus and branch, edge, and data center as well. And then AI and networking, it really comes down to 2 different facets. One is around what's called AI for networking, and that's how organizations are leveraging AI-powered capabilities to enhance the engineering and operations of their network. And then the other one is around networking for AI and how networks have to evolve to support new AI workloads. So we're going to touch on both of those. And then finally, one of the most important trends that we see in the market is this convergence of networking and security. And this is one of we see security as both one of the biggest drivers of organizations pursuing AI-powered capabilities. And it's also one of the biggest barriers that we see sort of impeding organizations' continued adoption of AI as well. So let's dive in and take a look at some of these statistics. So one of the first key things that we saw in the survey was the critical role that connectivity plays in organizations' business strategy. And in the AI era, this is even more important. Connectivity is how AI applications are delivered to enterprises. Connectivity is a critical role in ensuring that AI applications are working, and GPUs within data centers are getting the maximum throughput. And connectivity is a critical role in how organizations are achieving some of their business goals that they have. And so you can see the survey data points showing that the number of respondents who said that connectivity is extremely important today, and in 2 years, there's actually an increase in the number of organizations who say that connectivity is going to be mission critical to their business strategy going forward. And this data point on the right shows the huge increase in bandwidth that we're seeing driven by these AI workloads that are running on the network. So this specific question asked about the expected increase in data center bandwidth within data centers. And you can see the different survey respondents showing how much increased data center capacity they're going to see within their data centers in the next year. And on average, the respondents to our survey found that they're going to see about a 45% increase in their data center bandwidth in the next year. So this really reinforces how critical of a role connectivity is playing, and how much additional bandwidth we're going to see because of the AI wave really taking hold in the industry. So next, let's talk about AI for networking. And again, this is how organizations are leveraging AI to enhance the engineering and operations of their network. And this stat on the left here speaks to that stat I referenced at the top, which shows that within a 2-year time frame, organizations expect more than half of their campus and branch network management tasks to be augmented or enhanced by AI-powered capabilities. And the survey data specifically shows the results from the last 2 years that we've done this survey in 2024 and 2025. And the other interesting thing about this data is that it shows that organizations already have outpaced in 2025 their expectation for how much they would use AI 2 years from now last year. So again, it's just some incredible growth in how organizations are thinking that they're going to leverage AI in terms of enhancing the engineering and operations of their network. And on the right-hand side, you can see a stat showing the important role that agentic AI is increasingly playing in this AI ops movement. And really, we see this agentic communications and agentic AI as the next major wave of how we see organizations looking to take advantage of AI from a network management perspective. So next, we're going to move on to the networking for AI, and this is how organizations are preparing their networks to support AI workloads that are increasingly running on their networks. And in a lot of ways, organizations think about this from a data center perspective and how you're again supporting these GPUs and AI factories to ensure that they have the adequate throughput and bandwidth to be able to run these AI workloads. But increasingly, we're seeing this conversation move from just a scale up and a scale out. But a key theme that we're seeing in 2026 that's supported by our survey shows that the scale across idea is becoming increasingly important as organizations are thinking about networking for AI. And specifically, this means about how organizations are looking to ensure that AI workloads that are running in hybrid environments across both data centers and the public cloud, across multiple public clouds, or connecting multiple AI factories, how you ensure the networking that's essential for supporting those scale across use cases as well. And specifically, this survey data point is showing the huge increase in GPU traffic and GPU deployments that we're seeing within these switching environments. So you can see the survey data showing that 70% of respondents to our survey said that they're going to be doubling or more their GPU capacity within the next upcoming years, with about 20% doubling their GPU capacity within the next 1 to 2 years. So again, really key shifts that we're seeing across both the AI for networking and the networking for AI movement. Now, I mentioned one of the critical shifts that we're seeing in this market as well is the role of security and AI when it comes to networking. And the surprising stat from the survey that we found related to security is that security is both the biggest driver for AI projects, as well as the biggest inhibitor or impediment to further advancing these AI projects. And so from the perspective of AI, of security driving the use of AI powered operations, organizations are increasingly thinking and really feeling this pressure to use AI powered capabilities to fight against AI generated security attacks. And so there's this idea that you have to fight AI with AI. And so our survey data shows, for example, that responding to threats is one of the key use cases that organizations have for leveraging AI-powered capabilities. But we also have survey data that shows that the security concerns of deploying AI, how is my data being used? How are my partners, managing this data? What guardrails are in place to ensure that AI is being used correctly within my organization? This is a top concern that organizations have as they're continuing to roll out AI workloads within their organization. And so finally, I wanted to end with a point around some advice that we would have for organizations as you think about further embracing AI in your networking strategy. And this survey data points to some of the key evaluation criteria that our survey respondents said that they are prioritizing when they're thinking about partnering with suppliers to for their networking and AI. And you can see our respondents show that working with vendors who prioritize AI is a key factor here. Working with vendors who are prioritizing agentic AI is another key factor here, which speaks to the role that agentic is playing in network management today. But again, at the end of the day here, I think a key is some key takeaways for you would be that focus on the business use cases that your organization has for AI applications within your organization, and then think about the technology that can be used to support those business use cases. And so if your organization is struggling with a network management perspective, think about ways that AI can be used to help improve the engineering and operations of your network. If you're looking to scale out or scale up or scale across from an networking for AI perspective, think about ways that you can leverage some of the next generation infrastructure to support those activities as well. And finally, I would just end on the point that it's imperative that organizations think about a strategy related to AI and networking today. Your competitors are doing this. Your vendors and partners are doing this. And so think about ways that you can ensure that you're not left behind this AI wave. And, thankfully, we've seen a lot of vendors lean into AI and networking. And it's really exciting to see a lot of the advancements that we see in the AI and networking industry today. So thanks very much. And thanks for listening to this.
Brandon, thanks for providing a great industry overview on networks for AI and AI for networks. But let's start our discussion focused on AI for networks. Here I'm joined with Kenny Delovo and John Michel of HPE Networks. Kenny, I wanted to ask this question to you first. How does Agentic AI relate to AI for networking?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. Great job, Brandon. Agentic is certainly a buzzword that we're hearing in the industry a lot. I just got back from a large industry show, and everyone from customers, press, prospects, they were all talking about Agentic. And it's like this magic ingredient that you can sprinkle onto a network, and all of a sudden you have self-driving. Now, I think we all know that that's not the case. There is reason to be excited about it, for sure. It is a transformative enabler that ultimately leads to that vision that we're here to accomplish at HPE towards a self-driving network. But what we need to remind folks of is that this is one tool in the toolbox, right? In addition to your more traditional LLMs and Gen AI, on top of the AI sciences, reinforcement learning, unsupervised, supervised reinforcement models, and then on top of a rich data lake, to put together this whole package, ultimately of what delivers those autonomous self-driving networks that we have a vision for. And I think the other piece is what we're seeing today is similar to what we saw 5-6 years ago with AI washing. Now it's agentic washing, right? And when customers are evaluating these solutions, I think it's incumbent upon them to really look under the hood and to understand what is ultimately being delivered. Is this agentic? Can it reason? Can it make decisions? Can it take action without someone prodding it day after day, or is it a glorified AI assistant? And being able to apply agentic at a more mature phase in the self-driving journey is important for ultimately what the outcomes are, versus very early on applying agentic when you just have a curated database, right? So understanding where that is in the journey. But to summarize, land the plane, agentic is exciting. It is a transformation enabler, and it's exciting. I'd be curious, Brandon, if you have Any other thoughts around?
Yeah, Ken, I agree with you. It does seem like agentic is the new thing that everyone's talking about, right? We have survey data that shows that organizations are certainly interested in exploring how agentic can impact their network operations. And to me, I think the real opportunity for agentic is to be able to bring together some of the different components of AI systems across different parts of the network, across different parts of the IT stack, and perhaps even outside of their IT stack as well. Being able to have different agents that can do different tasks, and then I think fundamentally bring them together, to your point, to provide real value to enterprises is going to be what we're going to look for to see, how agentic can really, impact businesses in what they're trying to achieve from an AI perspective.
And John, wanted to ask you this. Why is agentic AI important now, and how is it enabled?
If you look at AI for networks, right, the ultimate goal is to automate and simplify network operations. But with AI workloads, it requires some changes in network architectures and designs. And those inherently add some complexity to the network. So, we're starting to distribute AI workloads for inferencing. You have very specialized front-end and back-end data centers. We have kind of moving across networks in order to interconnect AI data centers. So, the more AI we use, actually the more the complexity is in the network, which kind of starts to drive the need for agentic AI. So, and I think that's why we're getting to the point where there's a strong interest in agentic NetOps for our networks. And as far as enabling it, and I think we're just discussing it, and I think most people have a pretty good understanding about the concepts of agentic AI, but just in short, we're using agents which are collecting data and providing analysis. And those agents are subject matter experts for, let's say, specific domains. It might be certain applications, certain services. And they get stitched together from a graph database that then kind of maps a dynamic workflow to solve really complex problems. But when you're deploying an agentic system, it's not as simple as just rolling out agents and suddenly you have an agentic network. It really starts with an AI native architecture that's built on microservices. And I think that's what the founders of MIST started with in particular, because the goal is to get to a self-driving network, and they understood they need to be able to add in new technologies, new innovations, and bring those in seamlessly to get us from, let's say, where we were starting with data collection and move us into recommendations and assisted driving, ultimately self-driving. And the agentic AI becomes a very important tool in order to, as Kenny mentioned, to get us quicker from assisted driving to self-driving.
From an AI for networking perspective, what do you see as a compelling use case for AI-powered networking?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we see a range of use cases that organizations are looking to take advantage of AI-powered networking from a network engineering and operations perspective. I would put them into a couple buckets. One would be around helping to analyze a fire hose of data that is generated on the network. Other areas are around optimizing the performance of the network or the experiences that users or applications are getting from the network. Security is another major use case that we see for AI-powered networking. So organizations want to help ensure that they're leveraging AI to fight AI-generated security threats that they're increasingly facing. And then there's an element of prediction around AI as well. In something like software-defined networking, for example, there are some advanced AI-generated tools that allow you to be able to understand WAN traffic and use historical baselines to actually predict, what future network conditions could be and prepare your networks for those. So again, there are a range of use cases that we see for AI-powered networking. For example, within campus and branch, we see things like AI-powered radio resource management as a key use case for wireless. Across intelligent scoring and baselining of end user experiences is another area. So, our advice for folks is to think about what of these AI workflows could really add value to your organization. Where are you having trouble from a network management perspective? And which of these AI tools can really help you sort of overcome some of those challenges that you have from a network management perspective?
Thank you for that. John, at HP Discover in December, HP announced a number of integrations between Aruba Central and Juniper Mist, citing microservices as a key enabler. Can you explain what this means?
Yeah, I think anybody who's been in technology has probably been a part of a merger at some point in your career. If you haven't, it's going to happen. Myself, I've been through 4 different mergers, mostly as a product manager. And, I think from my experience, especially when you're trying to integrate proprietary operating systems and you're dealing with 12 to 18 month software release cycles, I mean, it can take years to do true integration if it ever happens at all. And I think what HPE did in 5 months, it's really remarkable. And these weren't just fluffy little integrations. These were kind of crown jewel types of integrations. We took a large experience model from Marvis, which provides application insights for modern user experience. We moved that over to Aruba Central. We took the agentic mesh from Aruba Central and we moved that into Marvis, so we have a common agentic framework. And many other things, and we're just getting started. And the reason we were able to do this so quickly is that both of these platforms are built on a microservices architecture, which, microservices and Kubernetes orchestration, it's been around in cloud environments for decades, but in the networking space, not so much. But I think, again, both of these organizations understood the value of microservices, and it's kind of like you have a Pixel phone, I have an iPhone. We can both download applications from the app server and run LinkedIn, and it works fine. And it's kind of what HPE is doing. We're developing an application repository. It allows us to develop once, deploy twice, or really deploy many times, depending on where the platform evolves to. So it's a very, very powerful and really effective way to kind of get this integration going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of work happening. Kenny, what does HP Networking deliver today for AI for networks?
Quite a bit. It's really an exciting time to be within this industry and seeing what's happening in real time. John, all those things that you were talking about, I think the phrase you use is we've been handed an embarrassment of riches with Aruba Central and Mist AI and the common architecture that both had, which really, to piggyback on what you're saying, allowed these two solutions to strengthen at a pace much faster than any of us thought at this point. And in addition to some of the things John was saying on the campus and branch, right? Aruba Central and GreenLake sits upon an incredible data lake of it's like 6 billion endpoints and over 3 million devices that we can tap into. And then combine that with what Mist and Marvis AI have in over a decade of AI and ML algorithms. And one of my favorite things that one of the founders, Bob Friday, likes to talk about is aligning the data science team with the customer support team and the impacts that can have on outcomes and the efficacy of the AI. It really begins to deliver transformation from a scale and visibility and a resiliency standpoint when we're talking about microservices. And it's delivered across a full stack, right? So in the campus and branch, switching, Wi-Fi, SD-WAN, private 5G, network access control, location, it's really quite impactful. But then it gets into the data center as well. It gets into the WAN edge and fully underpinned to deliver these workloads in a secure fashion, right? Because that's really what matters at the end of the day, ensuring these exceptional, high-performing experiences, and then ensuring that the network isn't just up, that application connectivity is delivering the experiences and the business outcomes that they expect, and that if there is a disruption to that experience, that we can identify it proactively and fix it without human intervention.
Brandon, what do you see as the value of a self-driving network?
Yeah, there has been a lot of talk about self-driving networks, specifically from HPE, and we see a number of really interesting advancements in the AI and networking industry, and this goal of getting to a self-driving network, I think, is a great sort of North Star, both for HPE and for customers to strive towards. But there are a number of elements that we see that need to be put in place to be able to get to a fully self-driving network, and it comes down to things like, are you collecting the right data? How are you analyzing that data? And then what sort of actions can you take upon that data? So, from an analyzing from a collection standpoint, you need to be able to collect the right data from the right points and be able to have an engine to be able to analyze that data as well. And from an automation standpoint, then it becomes, there are multiple different ways that you can automate tasks on the network. There's guided remediation, where an AI system is letting a network practitioner know what changes could be made, but not actually executing that. And then you get to something like a self-driving, where an AI system is actually automatically executing some of those tasks. And so, our survey data has shown that organizations are keen to take advantage of some of these more advanced AI-powered networking capabilities. We have a stat from our most recent AI and networking survey that we did last year, said that organizations expect more than half of their network management tasks within campus and branch to be powered by AI capabilities within the next 2 years. And so this speaks to the drive that organizations have in terms of wanting to be able to use AI-powered capabilities to enhance the engineering and operations of their network. But again, there's steps and stages to get along to that sort of fully autonomous or fully self-driving capabilities. But yeah, if you can get to that point, it can enable a range of benefits for organizations, from easing some of the complexity that John talked about, to be able to drive better business use cases that are aligned to what you're relying on the network for, to enhance the security and the experiences that folks get from the network. So certainly that's some of those drivers. That's why we see organizations and vendors trying to get to this stage of a more fully autonomous networking or a self-driving network.
Yeah, and even add to that too, that I think if you look at the amount of time spent trying to resolve issues, a lot of those issues, they're kind of simple L1 issues, but they take an enormous amount of time to triage, especially if it's cross-domain. Right. And I think at a technology point of view, there are a lot of things that we could be adding as self-driving already, but we don't. We're kind of taking a thoughtful approach to this to make sure that these are services that customers can get used to, they can build trust in it, and they can start to hand over those services to the system to take an autonomous action. And eventually these will get more sophisticated, but that level of sophistication has to match the end user's ability to, or willingness to, adopt it. And I think that's kind of where we're going next. It's really just helping customers build trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears to talk about networking for AI. Over the last 12 to 18 months, AI has rapidly shifted from experimentation into early production. The adoption of AI has become table stakes for most enterprises. Kenny, why does this shift matter in networking?
I think the bottom line is that traffic patterns are moving and moving again, right? It wasn't too long ago, 5 years ago, where we were working from home and traffic patterns were changing then, and then we returned to the office, and they've changed quite a bit over the last 5 years. What's different now is that the workloads are quite different, and the requirements are different. You have, John, you were talking about AI training models, that require ultra low latency, high bandwidth. Then we move to inference, and now we're applying all this emerging wave of agentic workflows, and the network needs to be prepared to handle that wave. I think traditional web and SaaS traffic were asymmetrical traffic flows, and this is more symmetrical. I think I saw a recent stat that said by 2031, ultimately AI workload traffic will outpace traditional web-based traffic. So this isn't theoretical. This is real, and it's happening, and the networks need to be prepared for it.
John, what are some important characteristics of a networking for AI solution?
Yeah, well, I mean, Brandon covered a lot of those in his talk, and and we know things like performance, low latency, scalability. These are kind of table stakes, but I would bucket them with three characteristics. One, secure AI native operations. All right, we've been talking about that. Two, they have to be validated performance, kind of AI optimized and validated. And the third is we really have to be more concerned about the energy budget. Are we able to scale economically and stay within the power ranges that we have? And so going back to the operational piece, we talked about AI for networks. The idea is just make things simple through automation, and we're doing that. I think in the security side, and Brandon, you touched on this in a couple areas. Security is more like a design philosophy. It's not really a product. And so we've taken that and moved it all the way across our software and our hardware platforms, from TPMs out of manufacturing to data encryption to networking for isolation and segmentation, firewalls, et cetera. And so top to bottom, we're building it and starting to use AI in order to enhance the policies across our firewalls. And so, in the second one, AI optimized and validated designs. There's AI introduces a lot of complexity into the network, and you require new skills. It requires data scientists, and a lot of people don't have those in their organizations yet. And so what HP has done is we create these validated designs and templates and blueprints for security, for routing, for switching, for AI data centers and beyond. And we just make it pretty simple for them. That we can characterize them, we understand the performance they're going to get out of it. It allows them to cost optimize their design to make sure it's very specific for what they're trying to achieve. And it allows them to deploy a stable environment, which is really, really important. And then the other part of it, the sustainability piece at scale, again, the GPUs are very powerful, but they're also super power hungry. And so your ability to scale an AI cluster can often be limited by the power envelope of your data center, for example. So we want to preserve as much of that energy for those GPUs, so you can kind of put as many AI workloads or as many use cases on there to amortize the cost of that investment, which is pretty significant. And so high performance and very energy efficient networking is critical. When we introduced our 800 gig interfaces for the QFX, we cut basically the watt per gigabit in half from 400 gig. We just recently introduced the MX103, the MX301, which is a inference edge router with 1.6 terabit ports on it that only draw 0.3 watts per gigabit. So it's really amazing, and we're getting that point where we are really helping to improve the cost efficiency and performance of these GPU clusters.
Kenny, what does HP networking actually deliver for networking for AI?
Sure. So let's talk about it from a portfolio perspective. Because it's not just one switch, one data center, one SD-WAN solution. It's a comprehensive portfolio, and truly one of the most, if not the most comprehensive portfolio in the industry. And I think being able to use custom silicon and Broadcom silicon really helps us meet any use case, whether that's cost, performance, density, and more. So started the campus and branch, right? So we have our CX and our EX campus switches. We have SD-WAN, Wi-Fi, private 5G, indoor location, network access control. I mean, it's really quite extensive from a campus and branch standpoint to meet really any use case that an enterprise is looking to deliver across any vertical. And then we have our scale out architectures in the data center. John, you were talking about 800 gig interfaces delivering 100 terabyte per second speeds, and using Apstra as the intent engine. And then you have to connect those AI factories, and we do so with our routing infrastructure solutions, the MX and PTX using that custom and Broadcom-based silicon, and then it's AI ops, right? It's Mist, it's Marvis, it's Aruba Central, it's GreenLake. Again, Apstra. This is the brain layer that ties it all together. And John, you rightly said it. Underpinned with security built into everything we do. Security's built in, not bolted on. It's integrated.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you, Ken, and thank you, John, and thank you all for joining us. Until next time.